in terms of adding depth and adding quality depth, about Kepa Arrizabalaga, confirmed today by the club, a £5 million signing, another Chelsea player. Um, I think this one is a really good deal as well. I think from Bournemouth, kept a good amount of clean sheets last season. I think about 8 in 30 something games last season. Sure to have good shot stopping abilities. Some occasional errors and blunders, but that's obviously gonna happen in the game of football. Very solid keeper. Been around, been playing in the Premier League, has experience. Good with his feet. Spanish goalkeeper, and it seems like Mikel Arteta is building this Spanish core at Arsenal that he's very, very happy with. So I think it fits the model of what we want to continue to build at this club. Give me your thoughts, KP, about Kepa Arrizabalaga coming to the club.
I think it's a very, very good signing. I think it's a very, very shrewd signing. And considering, as you said, like he played basically the whole season for Bournemouth, they had a great season, kept 8 clean sheets. I think he had a very, very high save percentage as well. Yes, there's a mistake or two in him. Yes, he went to, or Chelsea bought him for, you know, the most expensive keeper of all time. He's had that fallout with Sarri. I think people like to always look at players' downfalls as soon as they get signed. People look so quick to the things that the low lights, I should say, instead of, you know, necessarily the highlights. And I feel like if you're looking at number twos, who's a better number two? Maybe Ortega at City, but he's better than Edison in my opinion right now. So is he even really a number two? Like, but in terms of number twos all around the league, is there really a better number two? Maybe Liverpool's obviously keeper that they have. He's a quality keeper, the new one they signed. But I think for $5 million, considering that we're going for Ryan Garcia, who obviously is Barcelona's number one, he is a quality player, but he would have been around 25 million. And Arsenal have saved that money on a keeper that is experienced within this league, years in this league. Part of that Spanish core, as you said, obviously knows Raya, probably has a relationship with him, would know other players in the squad. Mikel Iñaki, the goalkeeper and coach, he's lived in London, so there's no transition. And obviously, yes, like you have to when you realize someone like Neto only played one game last season, and that one game was horrifying. Like, you can trust Kepa in the cups, you can trust Kepa in maybe in Champions League, even maybe as a rotation, and it's good from Arsenal to do that because, in my opinion, he will add a level of competition for Raya, a level of trust from Mikel, and I think it just marked maybe this new turn that Arsenal are going in the transfer window, maybe spearheaded by Berta, where Arsenal are being shrewd. Obviously, we talk about Nogard as well. We can add him into this, obviously, even though his deal hasn't been announced. Like Thomas Partey, the deal wasn't being agreed. We couldn't obviously, I spoke about this many times with you, how we shouldn't be offering him more wages. Arsenal need to be smart now in how, like, we're able to either sell players at the right time because of their wages, because of their contracts, or we're renewing them because obviously the age and they're at the potential, etc., etc. Like, and I think the Partey deal was an example of that, where he had a great season. So arguably, people said he was our best midfielder last season, which he probably was, and he played. This was probably the most games he played in an Arsenal shirt. But we all know he's getting older. We all know he has his injuries, so we didn't do it. I spoke about and I spoke to you about how we needed to get. I wanted a younger six, like I wanted an Agume or Boadidi from the French league to come in. But then I thought about, if this is the league, if this is the season where we need to win the league, if it's the season where we need to, like Mikel, to the point that you made about Ethan and Max, like Mikel's got to have players to trust. He's got to have players that he knows he can rely on. Like he can't just have players that, like, if an injury happens, you're putting an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old player that has never played in the league before already behind a player that has never played in the league before, and zubimendi coming in into midfield, and then Mikel's going to be fired. Why would you put us in a situation? Why didn't you renew Partey, etc., etc.? Having a Norgard, yes, he might not be a Jorginho, but he's reliable in certain areas. He knows the league is physical, and I think the transition, again, living in London, it's these little things I like that we're doing. Cheap. His wages are probably going to be way less than Partey's wages, and it saves that money that we kind of are seeing now this week, where Arsenal are, you know, getting Eze and it's separate to a winger, separate to striker. We all thought maybe Arsenal don't have the money and or won't move for multiple players, but now we are. So it's exciting, man. Like, I think hopefully Kepa does well, and hopefully this week is the start of a lot of announcements from Arsenal, you know, in the Zubimendi deal and Norgard. What's your thoughts on Kepa, like, and just, you know, the Norgard deals and that type of shrewd signing Arsenal kind of doing right now, and seeing how it's kind of paying dividends with and as a on top of a Rodrygo maybe and a Sesko that we didn't think was possibly possible.
Absolutely, bro. And I'm glad you brought up the Berta thing, because for so long, me and you've talked on off camera, private calls, talked personally, and talked about how the window is going in terms of how fans view the window, especially, and not really giving Arsenal their due diligence and their credit for approaching certain deals. Like, we got the zubimendi done early, we got the Kepa deal signed early, and then you can see certain things were happening in the background, or we were hoping certain things are happening in the background, but no, seeing it come to fruition, seeing it coming out in the news. And I agree with you 100%. That Partey deal was going on for so long. The one day we found out Partey wasn't signing, bang, same day Partey player signed. Those are the things people haven't really given Berta and the staff credit for that I've seen so far. The criticism was very loud, and criticism, you could fair play on the criticism. If deals are not getting done, I totally hear it. But when we go in and sign a Norgard, a player who's played in this league, who has experience, who's going to back up a player who's going to need that help, is going to need that nurturing into the side. Very good players, zubimendi, but obviously if anything happens, it's poor for the form, you have competent backup there. Same thing in other areas like Kepa. If anything happens to Davaraya, you have Kepa. And then I want to talk about Mosquera. If anything happens to Gabriel or Saliba, God forbid, who are we looking at? Maybe Kivior? And then you're plugging and placing different guys there. Timber, we see reports that he was playing on a significant ankle injury that he's no had time in the offseason to recover to. Ben White came back from injury. Who knows if he came back too early, too late? Who knows what happened there? But we needed players. We started to run out of players. That Timber said we started to run out of players, and I'm happy to see Berta going into the market and not just splashing the cash on the bigger names, doing the shrewd deals, saving money. So when these opportunities deals like a Rodrygo may arise, or getting the right deal on a striker, so you can pay the right amount of money, you can offer a little bit more wages, but also still taking care of a Skelly contract, taking care of a Saka contract. All this money on the books comes together in a smart way. And I think I give Berta so far, I give Berta a lot of praise and a lot of credit, because it's not easy coming into this job, especially with so much pressure on you, to get not only deals over the line, but to get players signed and to give the fans optimism looking into a season where Liverpool have already started hot in the transfer market, City have already started hot in the transfer market, and now we're in a position looking at a squad that's in pretty decent shape. I must say the squad is in pretty, if all the deals go through as they're supposed to, we add a or Gyökeres. If you add a Rodrygo, who's been sat on the bench now for a third straight time at the Club World Cup for Real Madrid as they move on to the quarterfinals today. And then you look at Eze coming in, who's separate from that. You look at Madueke, who might come in, who's separate from that as well. And then you already got zubimendi. You already got all these players. All of this, guys, can only possibly be good. Well, the future, we have this graph pulled up with all these players.
Yeah, so I made this little graph.
The future of Vieira is up in smoke, especially if we do get Eze over the line. The future of potentially, if we're gonna get Hato, who knows what happens there. Future of Zinchenko, you don't have him there, but he's probably gonna get sold to Milan. We've also heard reports about Kivior. I don't know what you do to Kivior. You're probably gonna give me your interpretations on that. But yeah, man, look at that squad. I'm happy with how that squad looks. I'm very happy with that.